Hello, welcome to Matt Loves Eurovision. It's my Eurovision 2023 top 37 countdown. It's my number 35. It's Poland, Blanka and Solo. Please do click on the subscribe button, ring that notification bell and like, share, comment below. Also in the description below you'll find a link to the national final performance of Blanka in the Polish national final. So at Eurovision 2022, Poland got their best result since 2016. They finished 12th as Ochman, one of my favourite songs of last year. It was their 5th best result that they've had overall in the contest. And it seems that they have been making some progress at last after in having success in the adult Eurovision, after having a lot of success in Junior Eurovision. So flying the Polish flag this year is Blanka, whose win in the Polish national final was not, shall we say, without controversy. So I think the key question is, will the Polish diaspora turn out for her in the televoting? Now Blanka, full name Blanka Stajkow, she is a model turned singer. She released her first single while she was on a reality TV show, which was Top Model, or the Polish version of Top Model. And Solo is only her second single. Her mother is model, her father was a very rich Bulgarian businessman. And I think her mum took her to the US for 4 years to sort of trying to further develop her career as she was kind of a young teenager. And I think perhaps some of those kind of wealth and connections have helped her somewhat along the way. Certainly there were connections amongst the Polish jury in the national final, and without wishing to rehash all the saga, suffice to say that the broadcaster more or less, I mean it's pretty open, it more or less rigged the result. And of course many Polish Eurovision fans are rightly furious about that. But I should stress the preview is not to look at is to look at the entry, not the circumstances by which it became the entry. And there are a lot of people who've talked about it. There's some very good videos around and that you can find talking about it. ESC Tom, my favourite Eurovision YouTube channels, he did a very good video kind of summarising all of that. So if you want to know more about that, do take a look at his summary at the time. I sort of talk about all of this just because I want to be clear that I am not, the placing of this at 35 is not because of the circumstances in which this was chosen. This is around, I did not take that into consideration when evaluating my own feelings towards the song. So I just want to be very clear on that. So Solo is, I would say, annoyingly catchy. It is very up-tempo and it has that kind of Latin Caribbean feel, very summery girly bop. But it ultimately is a fairly, I would say, a fairly basic song. It is not very original and it is not very, I wouldn't call it particularly current. I think it feels quite outdated. That kind of Caribbean sounding up-tempo bop is very 2000s, and we've had them at the Eurovision before. None of which necessarily discounts the song. Again, it's Eurovision isn't always about what's the most up-to-date or what's the most sort of deep or complicated song. That's not the way it always works. I think with something like this, a sparkling, engaging performer sort of combined with some solid or very impressive vocals could really lift it up. But sadly for all concerned, that is not what we get with this entry. Now I appreciate singers can have bad days and that some songs are harder to sing live well, but I've seen enough of Blanka singing at the national final and also a couple of the pre-parties to see that she is probably going to have her live vocal absolutely smothered, deliberately smothered by backing track or live backing vocalists. I mean, in the past it would have been live backing vocalists only. Of course, nowadays they can have backing track as well, even though they are supposed to do their main vocal live. It's not the first time that the named artist has maybe would have had to let backing vocalists take over. I'm thinking of Azerbaijan in 2016, which was Samra and Miracle, and I said it would take a miracle for that vocal to get to the final. In the end, it was carried by the backing vocalists, and some impressive staging, as you might expect. But yes, that had more to the performance. And from what, again, I've seen so far at the time of recording this, there's just been so little energy in the performances. It's like I've seen pancakes that were less flat, and she just doesn't look like a natural live music performer. And maybe just maybe that shows that because you've got rich parents and and have been a model, and doesn't mean you just become a pop star because you want to become a pop star, and that's the thing you've always wanted to be. So yes, I feel like I'm being super harsh here, and but I think you can at least temper that with the knowledge that I have this feeling that this may well qualify, despite what I think, or indeed what many Polish Eurovision fans will think about it. Because while she didn't win the public vote at the national final, she did come second, and Solo has moved into the top 5 in the Polish charts. It's also moved into the charts into neighbouring Ukraine, I believe. And it's not done too badly, I think, in some of the, admittedly very, some of the kind of fan poll or sort of fan events I was at, because it's a boppy, catchy number. Poland does have also quite a strong diaspora vote if they come out to vote. And while I know there's a lot of people that are very angry about the fact that this is the Polish entry, I think there's enough people that aren't thinking about that will still go out and vote. And I think, you've got UK, Ukraine, Lithuania, Belgium are all countries that have diaspora votes or neighbour votes, and I think the number that the diaspora may outweigh those that are angry. And obviously with the televote, and it's televote only, juries can deliberately mark down songs. Televote doesn't do that. Televote just goes, this is my favourite, and it just counts it. So it's a kind of a positive way. And so if enough people do that, it will get enough. It may get enough televote to do that. And I don't think, obviously, televote tend to notice whether someone is doing the live vocal or whether it's coming more from backing track or backing vocalists. They are sort of less bothered about that. I think it's going to be the nature of the live performance. I think whether or not any kind of energy can be got across. I think whether it will do well. So I think it could edge into the final, and it's in an open semi-final. So I wouldn't necessarily be surprised if it did manage to I think it'll just get there by the skin of its teeth if it does. But then if it does get to the final, it will get dust from the juries, I should expect. But there we go. So yes, a bit of a harsher one from me, but yes, I don't think what I think will necessarily affect how it does. But what do you think? And I know a lot of people have very, very strong views about this, but I'd be more interested to know less about the national final stuff, because I think that has been done to death. What do you think of the actual song and the performance? That's what I'll be more interested in. So please do write in the comments what you think, and join me next time when we go to whatever number comes next.